Hi, my name is Angela Rosoff, and I am here to share the miracle, the intrigue of Ayurveda. This is a medical system that helps us understand our bodies and how it connects with the environment. With this information, we can really leverage our lifestyle habits and create rituals around wellness and bringing ourselves to total body vitality. It's my interest in sharing this information with the women that I love and the women that they love to help us all work together to bring change in our bodies and in our environment to help our families and our communities and the planet. I know that with these kinds of healthful actions, we can really foster vitality in our lives. So thank you for watching. I want to share today just the mystery of the dosha and what that means. Generally speaking, when you start exploring Ayurveda, you may have encountered a dosha quiz, and to do a proper one, you answer, over 100 questions just to learn about the minutiae of the systems of your body. It really helps to dive deep and really understand that. I have been putting a quiz together, but I really feel like having this simple understanding is most helpful, because if you get the results from the quiz, it's going to tell you generally what you are most of the time. But once I explain this to you, you can figure this out on your own. And the reality is our bodies are adapting and changing just depending upon whatever is going on with our health and wellness. It's changing every minute. It's different from moment to moment. So what I mean is that I'm in San Francisco right now, and it's foggy most of the summer. We have fog and cool. Sometimes we even turn on the heat in the summer, which I don't do that, but my family does. And we enjoy cups of tea, hot chocolates, and things like that to keep ourselves warm. But if I travel to the Marin County area or down south, like to San Jose or Palo Alto, it's warm and hot in those areas. So my body that has been in equilibrium in San Francisco for days and days and days, it has to adjust the heat index, it has to adjust the body. And I'm presenting this to you so you understand that relationship. So this can happen also if you live in a hot climate. Say, for example, you're in Tucson, Arizona, or Chattanooga, Tennessee, or St. Louis, Missouri, and it's really hot and humid and muggy, or if you're in Tucson, it's really dry, and you go from the outside to the inside that's air conditioned, it's cold or cool, and your body has to adjust. So that's a normal thermoregulation system that our bodies are able to do, especially if we are in a state of health and vitality. But if we are over 40 and we are already dealing with thermoregulation issues because of hormones, or because our skin is dry, or because our insides are dry, this can be a more difficult action to take, and it can just exacerbate the signs and symptoms that we may be having from perimenopause and menopausal systems. So, menopausal symptoms. So I just bring this to you to be aware, to maybe, think, where do I lie in this realm of doshas? Because we can be a blend. And to understand this, you want to think about yourself when you were a baby, what you know about your your birth and maybe what you know about when you were very little. And then think about yourself now. And then to really dive in, you can sit with a journal and really think about how you have been through the course of your life. Because right now you may be different than when you were in college, or having your first job, graduating from high school, whatever your young adulthood looked like. So let's begin with the queen of doshas, Vata dosha. This is, from the Ayurvedic standpoint, this is the dosha that is to be known about, because it rules everything, quite honestly. And it's called Vata dosha. This is the dosha that houses the elements of air and space, or ether. Some people call it ether. So when you're thinking of air, we want to think of that idea of flow and motion and movement. So air in our body can represent, let's think of wind, for example. And wind can happen in our body with whenever we have gas, that can be windy. If we, and these are signs and symptoms, right? This is what I'm talking about. And if we are constipated, that can represent a lack of movement. Or if we have gas, that can present movement from part of our digestive system that may be unhelpful. Other positive movements in our body is blood flow, neurological flow of energy, connecting all of our neurons together to get to our brain, to relay information. And we want good flow in our body, good motion. So Vata is present no matter if it's our dominant dosha or not. It's always present everywhere. So Vata is looked at as a dominant dosha in nature, in our bodies. For those of us who may have this as a dominant dosha right now, and our dominant dosha in the present is called our Vikruti. So this is considered either our balance or our imbalance. So if we are composed of more air and space, we may find that we have the positive benefits of being creative, quick learners, fast on our feet. We might be very kind, might be very sensitive. And these are attributes that are so lovely. Some detriments to being a Vata dominant person is we may have memory lapses, we may be forgetful or spacey, we might have accidents, we might be too fast on our feet to really balance everything. And these are all notions to really consider, especially as we get older, because Vata begins to take hold of our body, no matter what your dosha is. After we turn 35, 40, we begin drying out. And that means that we're creating more space in our bodies. So what happens to that space as we get older can look like brittle bones because we're losing blood marrow. Or it can look like loss of muscle tone. So we're seeing maybe a little more flab. It's creating space for something else. And in this way, we want to acknowledge, where we are with Vata, and just note that we might want to consider pacifying our Vata elements in our body as we get older. And that would look like grounding rituals, rituals like this, connecting deeply with who we are and what we're doing, creating habits and routines that you do every day that help to ground your activity in a healthy flow throughout the day, as opposed to, hey, this morning I'm going to get up at 5 in the morning and start working on that project on my computer. I'll eat lunch later, and then I'll work out, before I go to bed. That stuff's too erratic. It's not helping you stay grounded. You're too up and down all over the place. So creating a seamless routine that is in accord with the diurnal nature of our day, like the sun rises, we rise, we do healthy activities to bring our body to life, like stretching, drinking warm water, grooming our teeth, checking our skin. And that is a beautiful way for women our age to ground the natural Vata that is seeping into our Vikruti. So the other two doshas are Pitta, that's the fiery one that composes the elements of fire and water. And those two together are at a conflict, right? So because there's so much going on there with liquid, fire, oil, any kind of sharpness that you might feel in your body, fire and oil breeds fire, right? So Pitta is one of those exciting doshas, and generally speaking, those who have this dosha are just fabulously passionate, smart, highly intelligent, self-determined. They generally have good circulation because everything's moving, everything's warm and hot, everything's going. And sometimes the detriment to this dosha is that they may have, at this age, high blood pressure. They may have very fast digestion, whereas Vata was maybe constipated and gassy. Pitta may have very fast digestion, which means that the elimination is not ideal. You're eliminating too quickly, so you're not able to absorb the nutrients in your body as the food moves through the system. And that can be a problem because that means that we're not making high quality blood. It means that we aren't completely nourishing ourselves. And over time, the Pitta dominant dosha person can be depleted and really have a lot of rashes and have skin that, at once had beautiful skin, and then over 40 they're getting rosacea, they're burning out. It's not happening. The other thing that happens with Pitta dominant people is they start losing their hair, and they used to have really lush, beautiful hair, but their hair starts to, especially men and women, can lose hair from the top of their head. So grounding rituals for Pitta is to have massage, really physically slow the digestion with a warm massage. It's counterintuitive to think that you need to ice down the Pitta people. That's not necessary. But just offering like equilibrium of tepid water, maybe refraining from some heated things, refraining from coffee and chocolate, which are two things that Pittas probably love because they're so passionate. But bringing everything down to a calmer state of being is very beneficial for Pitta dominant personalities. And then the last one, which is my personal favorite, is the Kappa or Kapha. Kappa dosha is earth and water. So those two things together kind of make mud that is tight and hard to take apart once it's combined, right? So Kapha, the earthy dosha, is in their best of ways. They're empathetic, they're trusting, they're trustworthy, they're dedicated. They're generally the kind of person that you look at and you're like, oh yeah, that's a healthy person. You know, they maybe have a little extra fat on them. They look generally pleased and happy because they're actually naturally grounded in this world. So they see those nuances of life that can make us all so happy. It's such a wonderful dosha, and I think it gets a bad rap. I hear people saying really negative things about this dosha, and it's unnecessary. The fun thing about kappas is once you are engaged with the kappa personality, and they're very loyal and dedicated to you. If you're a true friend with a kappa, or if they're your partner in like romance, they have a steady nature of really hanging in there in your relationship, and also in passionate endeavors as well. They're long-lasting sex with kappas. So kappa is one of the doshas that can have detrimental impacts of sluggish motion in the body. They can be hard to stir and motivate, so they need a lot of motivation. They need to work on self-motivation in general, and they're slow to change. So generally speaking, kappa tends to hold weight, and that's okay. It's okay to have a little adipose, especially after 40, you know, if you can accept it. Because if we fall, you know, especially when we get older in the years, it can help protect us and insulate us in a way that is immunity building. So there are some benefits to that. I have some kappa in me. I wanted to show you where you can see it. I didn't dry my hair, and it dried naturally. And in this little under area, the moisture hangs into my hair and creates this curly wave. Whereas if I had dried it with a hair dryer, it would go kind of straight and look a little frizzy. And you would see, and you can see kind of the frizz here, and you would see the telltale signs of kappa from there. Generally, kappa people have very beautiful, lush, gorgeous hair, beautiful skin. This is the kind of person when you touch them, they feel really soft. Their skin is very nourishing and nourished, just really, really lovely. So with the idea of these three doshas, can you figure out which one you might be? It's good to think about it this way. I'm going to share a test later, but if you do it this way, it's more meaningful. Then you can really identify this for yourself and know that you are moving through different elements in space and time, and that it impacts your body. It can really bring imbalance to the body. So then you can use nourishing foods and actions to ground the body, nourish the body with oils or nourishing foods that can help pacify Kapha, Pitta, and Vata. And as you're thinking of this, if your parents are still living, or if you know your birth story, piece together what you may have been when you were a baby. Were you a fat baby? Were you overweight? Did you cry a lot? Were you underweight? Were you a preemie? Were you docile and, smiling all the time? You can look at photos of yourself and begin to piece together what you were when you were a baby, your prakruti, and then you can learn where you are now through this, simple exercise of reflection and self-inquiry, and you can see, like, are they different? Are they the same? Generally speaking, your prakriti is where you will find your balance. So trying to balance your body, to realize your prakriti, is the endeavor of some. Most of us tend to accept where we are in our Vikruti and note this, but just help, try to balance what's happening in our ever-changing world. But this can be something that you do with yourself to inspire health and wellness in your body. So if you have any questions, drop them in. I'm doing a blog post about this, so I'll share it with you. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.